Man, how many people does this kid have to kill before we stop feeling sorry for him? Oh man, just got done with the fourth episode of Nighthead 2041, and this is my thoughts on it. So yeah, apparently the creators of this show heard me complain about not figuring things out, so they decided to spend the entire first segment of this episode pretty much plainly writing everything out for me. Yes, the boy was upset and triggered by the death of his dog. Yes, this photo was indeed his mother. I kind of mentioned that in a pinned comment in my last video. I don't know why that didn't dawn on me, but yeah, apparently this photo of her with this Coca girl, apparently Shoko. The Shoko girl was when the mother was in high school. She took the photo with her. She said that the son really liked the photo, so she framed it for him, and so that's why she wanted the child to have the photo when they took him away. Obviously, she's upset and wants her son back, but they're like, no, he's involved with some murders, and she's like, that can't be. But yeah, they're kind of pointing out, they're doing exams with all the people of the SWE, at least this group. They're still showing that Yoya and Takuya are showing good signs of being able to manifest their psychic powers. Unfortunately for Reika and Michio, they're not doing so well. While they're about to go and do their training, that's when this boy decides to wake up. He's fed up, he wants his mother back, and starts mind controlling and mass murdering the entire facility. On the other side of things, we get a little bit more world building through the eyes of the two lab brothers, Naoya and Naoto. And essentially, they wake up, this guy that saved them apparently is a part of this free speech alliance, that apparently there's this group that does not like the fact that the government is clamping down on them and removing all their... They see it not really so much as there's psychics in the world. They don't believe that there's psychics in the world. They just believe that the government is removing people's rights by making all this stuff illegal, thought crime, stuff like that. So they're trying to fight back against the government and their restrictions they're putting on mankind, because eventually that's going to lead to them losing all their rights. And now they're trying to essentially, because they noticed that they were being followed and taken down by this SWE, obviously they want to become allies. They have a common enemy. I did find it funny later on when the two brothers are mentioning the idea of that they're is there psychics among them? The guy laughed about it. Like, there's no psychics. And it's like, it's that element of, technically, yes, they both have a common enemy, but it's still funny that within the same alliance, there is this disbelief that somebody else believes something more than another person. But this alliance ends up, recruiting them. They end up, while they're meeting together at some location, they notice this video playing on this large screen that apparently is streamed everywhere. This is a video that's streamed online. It's streamed on multiple locations. It's in movie theaters. And that it's something that people like to watch on a regular basis because it helps them kind of fix an empty gap in their memory. It's apparently, when they're mentioning the idea that they never, or at least the brothers were mentioning the idea that they were never told that there was this World War III. And this girl chimes up and says, I have the same problem. Many people apparently have an issue with trying to remember anything that happened at that time. So it kind of implies the idea that World War III never happened, or at least that's what I'm gathering from this conversation, that possibly World War III never happened, or at least it didn't happen the way that they believe it happened. So my two theories on this point is, one, World War III literally never happened, which is hard to believe because they point out the fact that one of the brothers says, it could be that it never happened. This is just brainwashing. This video is brainwashing. And the guy's like, no, something happened because we are at 1/3 of our population. So we did lose 2/3 of our population by something. So the other theory is the idea that it wasn't a nuclear war that World War III was. That World War III was possibly just psychics exploding rampant across the world, and this led to a lot of deaths. And so you essentially had 2023, mankind awoken to psychic powers, mass chaos happened because obviously people having psychic powers and no control over it can lead to a lot of death. If a random criminal suddenly realizes he can blow up a building, he's going to blow up a lot of stuff. So this happens, and the government decides, okay, well, we stopped the threat. Now let's remove all possibility for people to believe they're psychics. Because like I mentioned before, my theory is that psychics only exists because they know that there's a capability of psychic. So the reason why they remove all information or thought about the idea of anything supernatural is to remove the ability for people to realize it's a thing and thus awaken themselves. Because even with the group that we have, it seems like just the thought that they know that there's psychic powers now, or they're awakening to it because they're testing their mind, so to speak. Like with Michio later on in the episode, he now knows that psychic powers exist, but he doesn't have it. So what he does, he keeps pushing himself till eventually it awakens. So that's my theory, that they're trying to squelch it and rewrite history, that essentially it happened a different way, essentially. Following this scene, it gets even more pretty upsetting as they decide to go visit the SWE headquarters in order to show the two lab brothers, Naoto, I keep calling them lab brothers because it's easier to reference, Naoto and Naoya, that there's this kind of repentance thing they do where they take people that have done thought crimes and they bring them to this facility where they put them in these rooms behind windows so that the general public can come and see them inside of these kind of repentance rooms where they have to. It's almost like a prison that has an open window that everybody in the community can see, and so they come there and they mock the people behind the windows while they stay behind it, and it's just kind of further upsetting when you see like an elderly person that's praying behind it and they're criticizing her. There's this poor small child that literally all she did apparently was draw a wizard. And so people are behind the windows scrutinizing the fact that the parents were terrible and they caused this, and this girl's obviously messed up. It was really really truly upsetting. It essentially like similar to the olden days, like way back in the days where the prisoners would be locked up with shackles in the courtyard and people would come by and throw rocks or tomatoes at them. It was something similar to that. So this obviously is upsetting to the brothers, and they really don't want this to happen anymore. But thankfully, because, and I'm going to start getting annoyed by this. I'm starting to feel annoyed by this, but it's starting to, what they're doing right now is they keep on, every episode, something happens with the SWE, and it seems like by just happenstance, the lab brothers are always there with them. Like, it made sense the last time because they were being led there. But this time it's like, oh, they just happen to be nearby, and suddenly the kid goes berserk and starts mind controlling people, and now the brothers are right there to basically get involved. And so what they get involved with is they want to go in there to, help the child, because essentially Naoya can hear the voice of this poor kid, and he wants to bring him out of there. Back on the other side of the SWE, essentially they're basically having to kill their own men because they're being mind controlled and shooting at them, and eventually somehow it leads them to the front door. I don't know why, but it's easier for the other brothers to see them, I guess. That's when the mother finally shows up. The kid catches a glimpse of Kimie, and that triggers him to essentially start attacking again. Takuya uses his big push ability and just blows up everything and falls unconscious. It seems like he's dying at this point. And something is nearly going to fall on Yuya, who is right now protecting the poor kid. Finally, Rika awakens, and she's able to essentially stop something from falling on him. And it seems like Kimie's been pestering Michio for not awakening yet. And this is the point which he gets upset. He hits the floor, and then it kind of does a weird big impact. So now apparently everybody is awakened. Takuya is dead or dying. Yoya is holding the child, and Naoya and Naoto have run off with the mother, because that's going to fix something. I'm not sure what it's going to fix. They're probably going to get information from the mother about the whole Shoko thing as well. She's kind of getting passed around as being an information dump. But good episode. As usual, great music, great action scenes. Again, like I said, I'm getting a little frustrated by the fact that it seems very convenient that these two brothers always end up showing up nearby the SWE group. Interested to see how everybody's kind of awakening. I love the more insight into the world itself. Like I said, getting into this kind of conspiracy theory around World War III, this inclusion of the Freedom Alliance group that's trying to fight back, even though it seems like they're a really small group. It doesn't seem like they're really going to be able to do much. Getting more insight into Shoko, like I said, apparently she was going to school with his mother, and she apparently just out of nowhere disappeared. They're claiming that she should be 40 years old now, and obviously it doesn't seem like she's that. So obviously her disappearance, maybe when she got brought to that lab, And what happened to her after that? That's the big question mark still. And yeah, just showing this public shaming facility is kind of unsettling, obviously. But yeah, it is troubling because I hate the idea of thinking this, but at some point it's like, okay, this kid has killed a lot of people. Now, granted, he is upset. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's the whole innocent child thing. But it's like, at some point you got to stop putting your life out there to save a kid who has literally killed. I mean, I'm going to guesstimate probably 50 people at this point. I mean, 30 if we're being very reserved. He's killed at least 30 people at this point. Do we really have to all act like he needs to be protected and saved at this point? I don't know. I feel bad, but at the same time, you got to cut your losses at some point. That's the whole joking comment about you make with video games where you plow through like corridors and corridors of bad guys, and then you realize at some point they're all, fathers, sons, brothers of people in the world, and they're all without their fathers, brothers, sons, and whatnot. But yeah, I should have realized at last episode that they all had like CGI models, so they were probably going to be, sticking around for a while. But yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. I really honestly think that they need to either lock this kid up in a better location, or unfortunately get rid of him because it's not working out well for them so far. I'm really curious what they're going to do with Michio. Michio seems like he's kind of overly competitive. I know that was a point they wanted to make. They wanted to push him to awaken. But he kind of looked fierce in his whole regard. He kind of seems like an idiot in some respects. So I'm kind of curious if they're gonna have him turn on everybody at some point. Like, haha, I finally did it, and I'm more powerful than anybody else. And then that end up blowing up in his face and other people's faces. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 4 of Nighthead. Hope you guys enjoyed my impressions. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. And support us on Patreon if you can. And I thank you all for watching, and y'all take care.